electronic products, components, equipment, and systems. He has provided technical supports and instructions to staff and customer regarding equipment standards, assisting with specific difficult in service engineering. He's a wireless sensor network chief evangelist, artificial intelligence and IoT enthusiastic and expert. He's a board member of IEEE Sweden section and also a fellow of Higher Education Academy UK. So whatever I have said is just a drop of a version. He has done a lot of things, and you can connect with him through LinkedIn with his name and Professor Celestin. Please also share your email and LinkedIn profiles because many people from our university wants to connect with you. There are also a lot of participants seeing through YouTube. So for this 1 week long, yours is the last session, and after this participant, we have the validity session. Kindly be attached with it. Over to you, Sally sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Good morning from Sweden, and let me try to bring up my my slides now. Okay. All right. Good. Okay. Can you see my slide now? Okay. Just going to share it. Okay. Lovely. Good. Okay. Good morning, everybody. If you can't hear me, just indicate so I know, and try to fix one or two things. Like you said, from Professor Celestin, and we've been working on these areas of Internet of Things and artificial intelligence. So actually today we shall be looking at the future of Internet of Things and artificial intelligence, especially in this COVID-19 era. The good thing is that a lot of things have happened, and COVID has exposed the weakness, the strength of IoT, the limitations, and then the advantages of artificial intelligence. So it makes it quite very interesting to talk about this and to try to motivate you, especially students and staff of Gogotias University, motivate you into this area. So, all right. So the future of Internet of Things and artificial intelligence in COVID-19 era. Now, some part of this work are actually a collaboration work with HP labs, HP partners, universities, some government. My good friend Milojovic is a fellow of IEEE, and he's part of the people who gave me some things that we are trying to make sure that the presentation is solid and right to the point to make sure you benefit in this area. A friend said, without intelligence, there is no value. So why do we actually need intelligence? So we shall be looking at some key points. IoT explosion. We've seen that IoT is the collection and connection of millions of sensors, wireless sensors, IoT sensors, and you are trying to get information, trying to make sure that we can communicate from one point to the other. And then we shall be looking at, is AI actually, how do we make AI sustainable for the future? How do we make AI sustainable? How do we predict? How do we automate? How do we bring results? How do we give answers to intelligence? How do we make human to think, machines to think like human? And how do we collaborate human intelligence and artificial intelligence? What are their meeting points? What do we need to do more? What do we need to do in terms of AI 2.0 that China is about to launch? And why is China ahead of this? And why do we need to join the team to be ahead also? How do we bring this into the academic curriculum and try to make our students? Because actually, I will show you that more jobs are created. Some people are afraid that artificial intelligence will make them lose their jobs. But actually, it is not. It will rather make the work easier and create more jobs, just like he has created now. Last time I was talking to a friend that most of you use the toiletries in the airport, and then one of the advantages of this IoT explosion AI is to predict how many people uses those toilets when they are traveling, and it also helps the management of those airport facilities to rearrange and reposition to kind of put people in charge who will clean up. They want to know the time, the rush hour time. They want to know how much water, how much human they will send there, someone they will send there to fix the toilets. So they get informations back from those sensors that you use in the toilet in the airport, and so many other places, especially in the hospital, where also IoT is being used to dictate and check. But the problems of this IoT, when we talk about the future, is also to talk about the cyber security, the risk, the key to consign to humanity, enterprise, consumer. Most companies, most banks are hit every day by hackers, intruders, and they pay huge sum of amount of money. So we are going to look at majorly the cybersecurity risk. Now, it is not only just the idea that we're talking about, but we are also talking about how do we protect, how do we detect when we have intruders coming into this IoT, AI sustainable future. What makes it actually sustainable? Do we have confidentiality? Do we have integrity? Can we say that the information that the sensors, the IoT sensors are giving are accurate, or are they being distorted as we are getting them arrive to the base station? So these are the areas. What is the effect? What can government do? What can we do to enlarge the threat or reduce the threat of the surface of the cybersecurity risk? So we will look at AI applied to cybersecurity and cybersecurity applied to AI and 5G network connectivity series. We also need to know how do we react to this entirely new scenarios. I will showcase some HP things in terms of IIoT, Internet of Intelligence of Things, industrial IoT, gaming, deep learning, the applications, traditional techniques. Why is AI a threat and also a solution to Internet of Intelligence of Things? Then we'll look at the call for action, like I mentioned earlier, the industry, the government, the IEEE, academia, eliminating the noise, and then we focus on global challenges. Also, we will look at AI 2.0, sustainable integration for future pandemic diseases. How do we use this AI 2.0? We believe, we've seen that COVID came in unexpectedly. So how do we prepare for something bigger coming in future? How do we determine? How do we dictate? How do we prevent? How do we bring solutions to it? This is where AI 2.0 is leading to. Then we'll look at cyber and AI application, the whole stack. I'll give you some examples, some practical examples of AI we use in terms of dictating COVID, and then the result we got, which was published in a top journal. So I will show that. I'll give you, see some of the codes. If some of you are interested in that, you can always send me an email. Okay, changing world. Now, we have seen that the last decade, the last decade actually is a decade of connectivity, like I've said, where you have billions of Internet of Things nodes. You have billions of wireless sensor network nodes being connected connected. And so we've been having dynamic with the Internet of Things, according to Steve Coy, the VP of Consumer Technology Association. Now, but this decade that we are going to, or we have actually arrived into, is not just the Internet of Things. That is why we that are in this area, we are not just looking at it as Internet of Things, but we are looking at it as Internet of, we are looking at it as intelligence of things. That is the decade we are talking about now. The intelligence of things, where your fridge, your freezer, your cooker, your gas cooker, your home, what you use at home is communicating with outside world, with your mobile and all that. So, and how do they react when you have a kind of emergency at home? What kind of message do you get? So we are actually talking about materials. We are talking about machines thinking in human form. So not just connecting alone, but how do they reason? How can they reason? How can we put an algorithm that will make them to reason the way that will give us what they are going through or what is happening around them, and then get solution to that. So now we have also seen that in this COVID era, which we are practically concentrating on, AI tools have been registering numerous successes in terms of diseases such as cancer. AI has been used in cancer, in neurology, and now in coronavirus SARS-CoV, COVID-19 detection, prediction. And in the long run of using AI, it's not just detection, prediction, but also as treatment. So we've seen also that COVID-19 patients often experience several symptoms, which we know: breathlessness, fever, cough, nausea, sore throat, blocked nose, runny nose, headache, muscle and joint pains. So now, how do we have an algorithm that could dictate this? How can we make it? It's not just putting sensors in the human body to detect them, but how can we from far? Just like an example I'm going to show you now. A security guide currently in Beijing, Mudonyoma metro station in Beijing. So they try to control. What they did was this security company named by McVie, their name, a Chinese tech firm, McVie Screen Computers. They designed this using these screen computers, AI-powered system to check for fever as people are crossing and coming into the metro station. You see, so this is currently installed and is working perfectly, as you can see from this picture. That how they are using it to check the AI is scanning if they have fever, and if they have fever, there's a kind of alarm that is set, and a police is nearby to redirect the person to another direction where it should go to, be marked out. This is what AI can do. The person is being marked out, and then quarantined or sent to quarantine center immediately, or some explanations needs to be for more check for them to release the person. So this is currently on that they're using to mitigate, contain the spread of this new coronavirus in China. Okay, now I will divert a little, not really divert, but I want to give you the genesis, the new normal, what we are looking at. How do we come up to this level of using much information and things that could take days when you are simulating. The system becomes slow, what we have been used to. But then now we are no longer talking about that. We're talking about results in milliseconds. We're talking about result prediction in seconds that could also become the future of the AI IoT. Now look at the microprocessors. Look at the range. From 1975, you can see how much we have moved into. You see, you can see the rate. The transistor has been used in thousands, much more single thread performance. You've seen the frequency. You've seen how it has really gone so high. So global database, we're talking about zettabytes now. Data nearly doubles every 2 years from 2013 to 2025. So we are projecting that much more data will be used. A lot of people now are on social media, like we are now on social media. We are YouTube. We are broadcasting now on Facebook. And you have quite a lot of number of people who are right there. Look at it, the structured data. So what is actually driving this data? You have 40 petabytes, according to Walmart's transaction database 2017. You have human interaction data, 4 petabytes a day people are using on Facebook across 2 billion users. That means they are sharing 2 megabytes per active user. Now, take note, we are looking at also, even though as we are moving on this level, we are looking at decentralized attack surface. The risk is creating, the problem is creating your own data, and distributed attack surface, how proportional to it, to the human number of humans. Now you have seen the digitalization of analog reality, where you have 40,000 petabytes a day moving at 10M connected cars by 2020. By 2020 now, because of this corona, we could project it much more to 2022. So we are talking about highly distributed proportional to the number of machines. AI, people using rear radar sensors. There's a particular sensor project we are working on now where we could use the radar sensors to predict the disturbance of movement in areas where we have a pipeline, in the Niger Delta. So we are trying to, because people have been disturbing the pipelines and blowing it up and scooping oil. So we are working on protecting using radar sensors, where we can have a range of about 100 meters. Currently, TI has 70 meters, but we are trying to see if we could project it more to 100 meters distance. So any activity within that 100 meters distance can be traced. So that is how big the attack we're talking about is. Side ultrasonic sensors. We have front rear, top near cameras being used, where you can be in the base station. You don't need to send in too much. Just be in the base station, monitoring and dictating whatever that is going on there. This is the future of IoT, the future of AI. So then we also move into what is known as the autonomous cars, where you have the leader, the HP-based system, including camera, being monitored. This is actually part of the radar system, leader section that we are working on also. So we expect a prevailing sensor suite to include up to 12 cameras, 6 leaders and 6 radars to monitor this particular scene that I just mentioned. And HP has projected this, and for every single point, there is an increase of the surface attack. That is where I want you to understand. Now, I want you to understand that every increase of knowledge, every increase of idea brings a disadvantage, and this disadvantage we are talking about is the security, the cyber security. So now, some of you are very good in edge cloud. Your research may be based on edge cloud or core system spanning intelligent mobility. Now, you must have come across this diagram. This is a kind of summary of whatever you have been doing in this area, where you have the in-vehicle micro data center with low power inference, engines that are safe, autonomous operations. Then you have the secure connectivity with resilient platforms, services, and data. Then you have the mini data centers with inject vehicle data, via Wi-Fi as they return to terminal during off blade, So then you move on into using Wi-Fi on ramp to 5G networks that allows connectivity to land, or WAN network resources. Then we have the SD-WAN. Some of you are also researching in that area that provides connectivity between the edge and the core data system. Then we have the composable memory driven computing. Now, then we have the edge to core resources and data management through an integrated Internet of Things platform that enables CI/CD deployment, management, data, and resources. Finally, you have the composable driven memory-driven computing. Now, that is where I'm going to composable memory-driven computing. Now, I will show you what HP is currently working on. But before then, let's look at what are the threats, what are the solutions to AI process or gives. Now, banks are evaluating AI, like you see there, a real-time analysis of ATM use, including automated footage, automated CCTV footage analysis, enabling faster responses to fraudulent transactions. In other words, they are looking, like I told you, if banks are hit, they are attacked every time. Now, and most of them don't announce in the news, because if you announce in the news, the first thing as a customer is to go and withdraw your money, because you would think that your money is affected from the one that was stolen. But of course, they have insurance. But that is the ordinary man, the average man thinking that once whatever that affects the bank must have affected the money. So the first thing is, you see, the next day you see the rush in the bank for people to withdraw whatever they have in that account. So most of the banks actually don't announce this again. But they are working seriously to make sure that wherever they have an issue in CCTV or in their online transaction, they want to have a faster response, and this is what AI can do. An Australian utility company is also using predictive-based analytics, drawing on AI data streams to predict which condition result in equipment failure. As a result, it can take preventive action in time, avoiding costly repairs. Now, this is where we are talking about that AI works much more better. It's easier to have prevention than to have a solution to a problem that has been created. So that is why most of the things we research, we are working on, most of the things is how you can detect and prevent, because it's much better to have that than putting all money into getting when the problem has already come. If the problem has already arrived, it becomes much more expensive, because first, once the problem is there, it creates, just like COVID now, it made so much companies, so much people have lost their job, and companies and countries are suffering, and so many problems. Now, but if we have a prevention, I think it is more. But we are seeing it also that most of the countries did not actually put this prevention into place. And now we have learned in a hard way. It's in a hard way, that we are trying to look for a solution where there should have been a prevention mechanism. Now, Rolls-Royce also is using AI-powered computing platform to analyze the data generated by its aircraft engines. As a result, Rolls-Royce can make design changes and operational recommendations that reduces airline fuel consumption. We are also looking at the system where you can be on the plane, you can be on the plane and being able to use your mobile without it distorting, causing DDoS problem to the communication that is being between the pilot and the navigating system. Okay, now this is a very well-known attack that most people have been receiving, even in this COVID-19 time, and creating problems in their system. We call it the ransomware. How hackers take your data, hostage. You can see there that once you get a malicious code, either in your data, in your coming into your computer or into your telephone, once you open that data, it creates an encryption lock. It gives them without the key, or you need that key to open those files. So once you click that, it takes over your command and control server, and then gives you a message. And that message produces, if you don't pay, asks you to pay a particular ransom. And if you don't pay, you lose a lot of money. And then when you pay, if you don't pay, all your data goes off. Every day you read a lot of retail companies and much smaller and bigger companies losing their data. Why? Because they did not actually take the security risk into consideration at first. You see, like the equivalent of 1,500 euros to unlock the contents of a computer was the charges. I read there that a Los Angeles hospital had to pay $17,000 to recover control of his data just in February here. So, and so much more other companies who suffer from this attack. So it makes actually the IoT and the AI, kind of gives you what do you call it, a kind of problem. You want to see how, even though it makes things easier, but then how can you prevent all this? So now I have said that the AI has helped us so much in terms of detection, where organization in AI cybersecurity for the following areas. You have the detection, you have the prediction, and you have the response. So high utilization. But the issue is, you see the percentage, because people put so much into the high utilization of detection, and then the prediction gives you a kind of medium, and then you have the response is actually 18%. So we need to improve, in the response of detecting than just prediction alone. So, like I said on the heading there, higher utilization of AI for detection than prediction or response is currently what we have. Now, but what are the vulnerabilities? Someone asked me this question last time. So what are the AIoT vulnerabilities? What makes them not to be exactly what we think? Are they weak? Are they guessable? Or are they hard-coded passwords? And then these are the vulnerabilities that we a lot of researchers are working on. What are the insecure network services? Do we have insecure network services? Do we have insecure ecosystem interfaces? Do we have lack of secure update mechanism? Insufficient privacy detection? And then do we have insecure data transfer and storage? Then do we have lack of device management? You see, so IoT, those are the vulnerabilities. But the fact is this: IoT and AI real-time data collection. We have, for most of you are working on that. How do you collect this data? Generally, the devices are connected to a server via internet. The devices are connected, through protocols like MQTT, SMPP, AMQP, or even HTTP with REST API or WebSocket. So the data generated from these devices is stored in the database, and then where you read the data, IoT data, is mostly unstructured and can easily be stored in cloud infrastructure, which also makes it accessible to attacks. Now, I'm still looking at AI as a solution in terms of deep learning in cybersecurity. We've done so many applications, like the IDS, Intrusion Detection System. Now, anomaly-based model that uses autoencoders, fully connected. You have the CNN, RNN, and then you have the neural networks there. So we've written some papers on IDS, so how we can use this kind of machine learning and other AI algorithms to solve that problem. We've also looked at malware detection, classification-based model that use fully connected neural networks. We have used spam and phishing detection, deep learning methods for NLP, natural language processing, or unidirectional or either bidirectional, depending on what you are actually working on. URL classification with fully connected models. We've also seen traffic analysis, where we base classification on connected RNN models. Then we have also looked at the binary codings, where you have the sequence tagging with subsequent classification of suspicious code segments that identify vulnerabilities in the system, in the network. Then you have the name detection and what do you call it, and categorization models as binary classifiers, where you have the DGA domain name generation algorithm used by botnets to generate domain names that are used as randomness point with their controllers. Now, take note, the Internet of Intelligence of Things refers to the billions of interconnected devices deployed around the world. So, if we have that, then we can also have that AI as a solution based on deep learning in cybersecurity. Some of the researches that have been done, their applications, based on the number of papers that we have been analyzed by a survey, we tell you how much they have used these security features that I mentioned, and the way people are working on them, and much more. It has also improved If we do another survey, we'll see people have been, the rate of usage has increased quite much, but it's still lower than what is expected from just taking these little statistics. So artificial intelligence and machine learning can draw more advanced insight from data and draw this insight more rapidly. You cannot work AI without data. This is what IoT does. For once you are using the IoT and AI in combination, IoT generates the data, transfer the data, stores the data. AI picks the data, analyzes the data, and takes data. It could be, okay, you've been sending data for like 3 months. So it analyzes all the data and make them usable. So AI can identify unusual trends with greater accuracy based on the data. So without data, you can actually not work on AI. So that is why you need much more information so that your analysis can be correct for you to make a very good response or make a very good prediction. So we need data much more when you work AI. And then we have AI can identify unusual trend, like I said, removes the need for human data review by using computer vision and speech recognition. Now, we have also seen that bias in deep learning is also an issue. Like I said earlier, some people think by using AI, by accepting AI, means they're going to lose their jobs. These are a kind of bias thinking. You're like, okay, no, AI is going to take my job, so I won't concentrate more on it. But it's not true. What it does is to make your work faster and better and easier. So when results are produced, like some people think they're systematically prejudiced due to erroneous assumption in the process. That's why I said the more data you have, the more collection of data you have, the easier it is for you to make a good prediction. Algorithms can be designed also by individuals with conscious and unconscious preferences. Recently, some training data are biased. It means they were not trained well. And once a training is not done well, because first you get the data in AI, the next thing you train the data, and then you train it based on the algorithm, and then you now apply your data into those things and then see how it is. I apply the algorithms. Now, but the fact is, if the training is not done properly, you can have a very wrong result, or it can result into a compromise and make your research to create problems, especially when it is focused on the health sector. So where you get your data matters from. Now, IEEE makes it easier. We have a data port now in IEEE. So for many of you who are IEEE members, and if you are not, I encourage you to be. This is half of the year for students. You have a reduced pay. Even for others, if your salary is lower than a particular amount, you can have that also to help you get this data. You need data when you work in AI, and good data for that matter, to have good prediction and do a lot of things, not only just in AI, but every other field that you are in. Okay, now let me also mention quickly again about HP, what they have decided to do with creating the memory processing. That is where we are looking at now. They've created a workload, using data movement, applying von Neumann bottleneck to develop these architectures based on CMOS and non-volatile analog technology. So in terms of memory processing, they've been able to apply matrix operations in a single cycle pattern matching, and they've been able to use this application for accelerators like neural network inference, speeding up to greater than 10 times higher, than what they have with a lower cost in the GPUs. They've also done alternative to quantum for solving NP-hard optimization problems, supply chain, scheduling, threat mitigation. Now, they've also been able to apply it into network security that recognize attack signatures in packet data at wire speed. Now, the HP, again, they've created these analog digital approaches that enables 10 to 10,000 gains across 3 challenging application areas, like the optimization accelerator, the AI accelerator, the network security accelerator. This has been a very big improvement, from unstructured data to the learning classifiers, when you combine this CMOS and non-volatile analog technology for in-memory processing. Now, let's see more what they did. They were able to use this network security accelerator that recognizes attack signatures in packet data at wire speed greater than 100 GPS without error. So we're looking at the configuration. They work more in memory processing architectures, encode them into finished state machine, combine them with the hardware to match patterns, and then using non-volatile, like you can see from the figure in the core input data stream, to reduce power and the area 25 times improvement in even both in the power consumption of their test set, targeting scaling and beyond of more than 100 GPS. So this is what HP is currently working on, reducing the surface attack, which is a case that is possible from the base station, from the onset into the region, down from the clusters to the virtualization, to the container, to the serverless capability supported protection. So this is what they've been able to do. Now, transform performance with memory-driven programming. Like I said, in the similar manner, we need to rethink how do we handle security in the future. As we are talking about AI, as we are talking about IoT, intelligence of things, Internet of Things, how do we rethink based on memory analysis according to HP? How do we rethink it? How do we make sure that we have low cost when we work this? Because it's much a problem now that most companies find it difficult to adapt into this reality. But COVID-19, as is proven to be a thing that a lot of new investments are coming up. Once the pandemic ceases and we have the cure and we have the prevention, a lot of companies will now begin to rethink how they actually function, including schools, including government parastasis. So now, just like the brain, can we, in similar manner, increase efficiency of cyber analysts using memory-driven computing that helps to outspace the global time bomb of neurodegenerative diseases? I remember earlier I said they have succeeded in using AI for cancer, now prevention of COVID. At least try to know the cause, to know who is affected and who is not affected. Now we are looking at using it to discover. The HP is using it to discover it's a greater thing in computing. According to them, it's going to be an unprecedented computational speed improvement that hold new promise in the race against Israel. So many things are coming up with a lot of solutions and results. Okay. Now, and attacks are growing every day with the government. So I'll talk a little bit about that. The government, prevention is nearly impossible. That's what people tell you, unless you are perfect. Given enough time, hackers will get in. So cost of attack is so low. Automated probing, we find a weakness also once the security attacks goes on. Because you may say, someone said, oh, but AI is automation. I say, yes, but automation, for a good hacker, a good intruder, it takes time to study your automation. And if the automation is not re-automated, then you have a problem of hackers getting your code, taking time, patiently waiting and being able to attack your system at ease in the coming future. So we cannot remove, this is where we come up when I talk about the AI 2.0. You cannot actually remove the fact that automation needs a combination of human and machine intelligence. So again, you see the advanced persistent threats that show hackers are patient, very patient when they want to get into your system. Okay, now why AI is the future of IIoT, Internet of Intelligence of Things? Now, 61% of enterprises say they cannot detect breach attempts, today without the use of AI technologies. 48% said their budget for AI and cybersecurity will increase by an average of 29% in fiscal year. Now, change that 2020 to 2022. You see, now we also talk about breach attempts are proliferating, with Cisco, for example, reporting that in 2018 they blocked 7 trillion threats on behalf of their customers. Now, that is, imagine, this is just Cisco blocking quite huge number of threats just from 7 trillion threats just from their customers. Now, imagine what happens with other customers. Imagine what happens, the threats you have every time. Now, there's another article we are writing on fake news. You know, how fake news moved by politicians and non-politicians have created problems, created more sickness. Some people have used, you can imagine someone going to take bath with salt just because he read in the fake news that taking bath with salt will cure COVID-19. You know, so a lot of things are going on and a lot of problems. So these are the issues where like Facebook, the Twitter, all of them are coming. We're actually writing a paper on that because they're actually coming up with, you know, sanctioning those, using algorithms to sanction, and those algorithms are AI-based algorithms to sanction those fake news that are moving on in social media. So now, but it all depends on the analyst. That's exactly what I was saying. It's not just automation, not just creating a system for the future, but it also needs a very good analyst. That means we need to know, one, what does the people need? What does the people don't have? Cybersecurity Ventures estimates, as I told you, 3.5 million unfilled cybersecurity jobs. Now, this is to some students who are undergraduates or masters, and you're wondering, where will you work? You know, in AI, what really makes AI? Why? AI is the future. It's in everywhere. It's in medicine. It's in any part of engineering. It's in law. It's in, that is, people who are in the arts management areas. Now we're talking about using it in the bank. So you're actually needed everywhere. Everywhere. The way the world, the future is going to, you need, there are 3.5 million unfilled cybersecurity jobs by 2021, and up from 1 million openings, and much more, because this COVID era has opened the eyes for the need of this. So whatever you are doing, even in the school curriculum, let it be there, because in every area, NLP is being used by someone, by people who study linguistics, in terms of using voice to dictate how people speak, and how you can use voice to dictate a criminal. That is also in another area of cybersecurity, not just dictating the face, using AI or computer vision, but we are talking of using this AI to do much more than other things are doing. How you can have prevention, using them in the breach, where civil engineers are working, or mechanical engineering, dictating how the cars, autonomous cars, like I've displayed earlier, So, but the fact is, we don't have the right training. We don't have the right training. That is why Enterprise Security and Information Systems Association is saying that 56% of respondents said there was no training available. So that is why Gogotias University is asking us to present this AI to help you understand, because this is like a preamble, that will stimulate, or for some of you who are already in AI, to stimulate you more to what you're supposed to know, or what you're supposed to achieve, or what you're supposed to do in the future. Now, there's high turnover enterprise security that says 46% of the respondents were solicited to take a new job. So, adding AI to whatever you are doing will help you to expand your horizon, it will increase your guess for a better job. And you need something much more to add to what you are doing now. Now, enabling a sustainable future. So a new report by BYC and Microsoft entitled How AI Can Enable a Sustainable Future. They argue that artificial intelligence technologies are among those that can enable real and effective change. It claims are nothing short of both. We can see it. It has been proven that using AI for environmental application in just 4 key area sector could contribute up to $5.2 trillion to the global economy in 2030. And now that 2030 is where we're expecting AI 2.0, which is the future of artificial intelligence. So it also reduces the worldwide emissions which is much more, by 4% in 2030, and create 38.2 million net new jobs. Now, this was before the advent of, the pandemic of COVID. With the pandemic of COVID, we are now talking much more, times 3 of this number, especially, well, in every area, especially in rural areas where people cannot be there, and we can use AI in combination and connection with IoT to treat patients who are in the rural areas, who does not have access to medical facilities. And how this can be done is what we're talking about, a sustainable future. Okay, now I have a kind of crazy diagram here on sustainable future, which we have sent into a publication recently on how everything can be brought together, from the cloud down to the obstruction, trying to block the obstruction, creating from the base station, from your house, down to whatever, and put all this into use, where everything is being connected and everything is increasing and sending the messages around. Now, like I said, automating response with AI. Why? Why do we need the response? Why? We need it because of performance increase. Like cleaning and fixing, investigating, capturing, evaluating, planning, documenting. So the response we have is that out of 537 hours that we normally use to do this, we have been able to reduce it to seconds. That is what AI can do in terms of automating. But remember, like I said, every automation needs an analyst. Then we have the scale from 1 to 2 incidents to 1,000 seconds. We have the corporate knowledge, where we transfer AI experience to new analysts, actually. So these are the extrapolated hours that was compiled based on the time was employed. Now, but what are the barriers to implementing AI in cyber, most related to standards, actually? Because now we have a lot of algorithms, and what do you call it? IEEE is working, and most other organizations are working to get a standard that will be uniform in the world. But China is moving and working into AI 2.0 that I will explain very soon. So lack of operational metrics to determine effectiveness. These are the barriers: preventing adversarial attacks, ensuring AI is performing as expected. We were watching a movie, myself and my family, the other day, and the movie was about a jet that was sent to go and attack a particular place. No one was driving it, he was using AI. But then someone, when they were preparing, or they were making those jets, someone had an algorithm, a practice an algorithm, where he just wrote in the algorithm for the jet to disobey the orders. And then during the course of the operation of the jet, suddenly the algorithm surfaced, and then it started working against the order and started fighting back his enemies. People who sent in. So, and I said, this is a failure of AI algorithm working in reverse. So we must be able to ensure that AI is performing as expected. That is why I will mention it in AI 2.0, the future of AI, why we need the combination of human and machine intelligence. So another one is lack of realistic training data. Like I said, data is what you need in AI to succeed in implementing IoT. And because of the cost of the IoT, which we are still hoping will come down to barest minimum. I remember the first time 2009, we did some experiment in Aberdeen, University of Aberdeen. We bought 6 sensors for £6,000, and that was crazily expensive. And we are projecting in wireless sensor network that it should be easier to communicate. But then, why was it expensive? Why was it so much? Because it was in the hands of people, agents, and not the right people who produces them. So we are urging, the more people, the more company produces this, the more, because it ought to be cheap. That is why we say it's wireless sensor, easier communication. But it's not easier based on the cost. So training data is very important for you to have. Good enough, we now have IoT, IEEE data port for members of IEEE, we can have good access to this training data. And then we also urge you, if you work on any good data, make sure you also upload those data to the data port so that we can increase the performance of whatever we are doing and help other future researchers. Now, lack of standardization workflows to enable integration of AI into current processes are other issues that we are looking at. Lack of human to machine teaming model. How does the analyst use the AI? Who is responsible for training the AI? Is it just in the school? Is it just government? Is it we, the lecturers, putting this into? But good enough, we have most of this system, most of the tools we are using online, and they are free. And because they are free, it behoves you as a student to go through them, see the examples, practice them, and become perfect in them. And not only that, then you can bring novelty. People say, what is novelty? I say novelty is learning from the others and adding to something that they did not do. So when you read a paper as a student, how do you get a novelty from that paper? You look at the conclusion. Every conclusion, there should be a future work. That future work is something that has not been done. But you use the initial one as a basis, to learn something much more. So you use that, someone like, oh, novelty should be something new. No, nothing is new. Everything has been done by somebody. But what you need is look at where the person stopped and add your own idea to it. And from your own or idea that has been used is something different, and then bring it up to something else that is different and being able to develop it. Once it works and you have new results, we say that is novel. So we'll talk about partnering with government. Now, government has partnered with this conference, which is very good, which is very good. And it's encouraging that we should involve the government, involve the industry. I was talking to a friend the other day, and I told her that when she was saying, give us idea of something we need to use, I said, hey, have engineering team fair. That means allow the students to develop something, AI, IoT, and invite the companies, once a while to see what the students can do. Because unless people know what you can do, they cannot support what you are doing. So these are the areas where we invite the government, we invite the academia, we invite the IEEE and others, to showcase the intellectualism that comes up from our students. Now, industry standards are ubiquitous. They are well supported, especially in certification. So we'll talk about the certification. IEEE, for instance, has 1,300 active standards, 7,000 individual members in 90 countries working on these standards. And the academia, we need to bring out from the box thinking. Good. Now, we have also talked about the supports using format for network traffic capture, policy for AI, ML configuration. I will capture the strategies and the analysis steps. What steps do they need to take? Then we are looking at the process. Standard Association offers these framework processes and structure. We have the grand challenge that that we try to encourage the students with a prize, and also encourage others who are working on this research. Good. Now, let me come back now to AI 2.0 for sustainable future. That means this is the next level of AI. Now, this is going to be launched, as I said earlier, by China soon. By 2030, the Chinese government plan to make this global lead. They want to be a global leader in the development of artificial intelligence theory and technology. So everybody should wake up, not only just China, but everybody should wake up on this area. Now, they are focusing on, number one, big data intelligence. That is how you can transform your big data ideas. You transform it not just into insights. You bring out the optimization, engagement capability, actually, and also add the agents, like the BI strategies, the intelligent analysts, the data intelligence warehouse architects, data science. I'm giving you the areas of research. If you are looking for where will you base areas of research, these points I've listed is the areas of research that are enormous. They are massive. from data scientists to implementation to developing experts. These are massive in terms of big data intelligence. So some of you who want to go into that area of research, this is areas you'll be thinking about. How do you expand this horizon? How do you make things happen? Then we have area of the sustainability in terms of crowd intelligence, essentially internet-based collective intelligence. Using crowd intelligence to detect the human face, detect a particular location of an IoT system, of anything that you want to make happen. You have the cross-media intelligence, when you integrate the data-driven machine learning with human knowledge. That's what I was saying, because you need an automation to be monitored. If not, there could be a problem, especially security attack. Then using cross-media data, make prediction, recognition, analysis, reasoning of this data. Then you have another big area that we're talking about, sustainable future, hybrid augmented intelligence, creating a hybrid collaboration between the humans and machine. Now, this is a long-term goal. Why? Because it makes machine to think like human. Someone said it's not possible, but until you try and fail many times, you will not know the reason, you will not know the definition of impossibility. So powerful more than machine learning or human intelligence is this hybrid augmented intelligence. Now, we have the area, another sustainable area that is being projected to be unmanned autonomous system. This is the next step in the fusion of mechanical systems, computing technologies, and sensors, software to create intelligent system capable of interacting with the complexities of the real world. Now, let's quickly look at the AI ML practical application in COVID-19. What you need to build. Some of you who are very new in application of this AI, I just give you very few examples. What do you need to use to build? Like, for example, intrusion detection system or recommender system. Number one, you have the Python development environment. This is free online. You download the Anaconda and launch it, or use a natural language toolkit. Now you download it in your system. Now, depending on the system you are creating, depends on what you want to create an intrusion. Do you want to work as, you want to recommend mostly what Amazon and YouTube and Facebook, what most other companies are using in terms of recommender system, either item recommendation or any other part of recommendation system. So you get the packages needed for your work. For recommender, for example, you install for recommender, you need Surprise, a package called Surprise. For NLTK, you need a package called for IoT, like Numbi, Panda. For plot, for graphs and the figures. Matplotlib in Anaconda is just like MATLAB figures that you have, so it's an equivalent of that. You have the PyPlot, also you have the Seaborn, depending on what you are creating. So now, we wrote a book, a journal published in one of the top papers, like you can see there, patient health prediction using boosted random algorithm. It had over 100,000 people who have read it so far. Now, this paper aims to fill the voice of traditional healthcare system by using machine learning, which is part of the AI algorithm, to simultaneously process the healthcare travel data along with other parameters of COVID-19 positive patients. Now, I'm just giving you an example of AI, that we use, to develop, detect things about COVID, since we are talking about COVID era. So we use it these are the data we got from Wuhan to predict the most likely outcome of a patient based on their symptoms, travel history, and the delay in reporting the case. By identifying patterns from the previous patient data, our contribution in that work, number one was we talked about processing of healthcare data, healthcare and travel data using the ML algorithms in place of traditional healthcare system to identify COVID-infected person. So we're able to use our Python to gather all the codes, all the data, put them together. Then we also compare multiple algorithms that are available for processing the patient data and identify boosted random forest as the best method for processing data. Then we also executed a grid search, to fine-tune the hyperparameters of boosted random forest algorithm, and that improves the performance of what we are actually doing. So our work actually obliterates the need to recompare the existing algorithm for processing COVID-19 patient data. Now, the good thing about it is that we gave a hope for the future. And we said for future researchers that this will help them to, in terms of developing a solution that combines the processing of patient demographic, travel, subjective health data with the image data that was scanned for better prediction of COVID-19 patient health outcome. So this was published in Journal Frontline Public Health with impact factor 2.031. Like I said, we had over 100,000 reads so far. And it was published in COVID-19, most with over 69,000 members or so. Okay, now I will want to showcase some things from practical for some people to get. Let me quickly do that. I said I was going to show. I've just explained the theory, but let me explain what happened in the practical aspect of it, so that some of you who are okay, that's my student. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yes. Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
Sir, is there any issue is going on?
Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm just waiting, sir, if any participant ask a question.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I'm just checking in a WhatsApp, their chat box. Any
Okay.
participants who want to ask any question?
Participant, if you want to ask any question, you can type on the chat box,
Okay.
or you can also connect with our speaker through his LinkedIn other links. He has already shared you with the LinkedIn links.
Okay.
Meenakshi ma'am, you can give the vote of thanks and do the validatory session also.
Thank you so much, sir, being here with us, and you share your expertise. So thank you so much. I, Professor Dr. Meenakshi Sharma, on University Research and Development, on behalf of Galgotia University, I am very much thankful to our Honorable Chancellor, Mr. Sunil Galgotia, sir, Honorable CEO, Mr. Dhruv Galgotia, sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor Professor Preeti Bajaj, ma'am, for their continued support and advice, which is a great help towards the successful for the 1 week virtual workshop with the ICT Academy on the learning practical research skills and techniques and innovative integrated approach series 2 on research writing skill. I am sincerely thanks to our speaker who have given the very informative regarding how they can go for the AI machine learning and they can pursue to write a very good research paper. It is a pleasure to host all the participants of the workshop at Galgotia University. The participants are who attend on writing skill. I am sure participant must have benefited by attending this workshop. I am thankful to all the speakers for their excited participation in this workshop, and I take this opportunity to thank our guest speaker providing their valuable time and information regarding how we can improve our research writing skills. I am also thanks to GU administration in general to providing us with all possible logistic support towards organizing this event. I once again thanks to whose contribution has made this workshop a successful workshop. I would like to share we will come back very soon with our series 3 to continue this workshop. Thanks to all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay. Any question from there? Do we have any question? I'm still looking. Okay.
Sir, you have got lot of appreciations
Okay. Okay.
with not many questions.
Okay, I see. If there's any question, you are always free. My email address is there, celestine.iwendi. I try to put
Yes,
it
sir.
up.
Can
You
you
are
show
free.
your email and LinkedIn address, sir? You can just
Yes.
project that so that people will take a photo of it and they will connect to you.
Yes, exactly. I will put it up as we are talking now. And then you are free. If you have any papers you want to publish, you are always free to connect with me, and then I will help you without cost, just because it's Gogosia
Thank
student.
you so much, sir. This is more
Without cost,
important.
we have a lot of SI places,
Yes,
that
sir.
are running now. So we can help you there. Make sure the papers are quality, plagiarism less than 10%, and then we'll do the rest for you. I will do that for at least the people that will communicate as soon as possible.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Our
Okay.
pleasure, sir. You have to.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank
All
you
right.
so much, sir. Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay. Okay. Thank
Thank
you. All right. Let me put my